Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Microstakes No Limit Hold'em poker strategy. Now, I'm not the most advanced player in the world. I do make a lot of mistakes, and I'm not perfect, obviously. But I've been a winning player over the last 2-3 months, playing at low stakes. So I'm just gonna discuss the hands that I play as I play them, and hopefully give you guys an idea of how to make money at the low stakes. Now, part one was a bit slow. I didn't really pick up many hands, and I actually hit a relatively big hand, Queen 4-4 on the flop, and I had Ace Queen. And then the turn came a king, and the guy just pushed all in, and I was pretty sure I was beat there, unfortunately, on the turn. And so I'm a bit down for this session. Hopefully we'll get a bit better luck in the next hour or so. And here, it's a bit of a slow start. And I like to be very aggressive pre-flop, so, I'm raising with kind of any two suited cards in late position nearly all the time. And I'm going to definitely see bet these kind of flops for about 75%. And let's see what happens. And he folds. Brilliant. I was saying in the first part, you want to give the perception that you're a very aggressive player by raising a lot of pots and calling a lot of races pre-flop, but then being able to get away from the hands when you miss. I think that's one of the most important things if you're going to be playing a lot of hands, is you need to be able to fold them if you miss, or even fold mediocre hands, because when you're calling a raise with something like Queen 7 suited and then it comes, Queen King rag, you need to be able to get away from that hand if possible, because the reason you're calling with that hand there is to hit trips, or to just flop the flush. So here I'll pick up Ace Queen in the big blind, premium obviously, and we go ahead and we get a min raise from this guy. I've been re-raising a few hands. I've re-raised 2 hands already in here out of 16. So I'm probably perceived as a relatively aggressive player, and he folds and we win the pot without contest. Jack 7, if that's suited, I'd be calling there, but because it's not, I'm just going to throw it into the muck. Oh, cup of tea in the morning's good. Okay, so big raises here. I'm gonna fold the 8-10 and say goodbye to the Ace-6. Oh god. You do get people a lot actually in these stakes making these incredibly small bets into flops, and I've actually read quite a few articles on people being quite confused about playing people who kind of min bet flops and stuff, because it's kind of quite difficult to play them because you don't know if they're bluffing, they're on a draw, or they have the nuts, because they're capable of doing all three. And my advice is just when you hit any mediocre hand, raise the flop, bet the turn, bet the river if your hand holds up. Purely because most people, when they're doing that, are protecting their hand. Very rarely are they going to be trapping by min betting, because people are just too worried they're not going to get the value for their hand. And maybe I'll be able to give you an example of that later. So we pick up 10-8 suited, and we're going to call this guy's raise here. 8-10 is so good pre-flop. Surely I can't lose with 8-10 suited. It's kind of hand where you just know you're going to flop big. I say that, but it's probably going to come really bad. Come on, what's he doing? Played with this guy before. Oh, we hit a double belly buster. And here we've got, some guy we've played with before. I don't know where his stats just went. Are they here? Can I see them, please? Here, he's VP of 20 and a PR of 11, which is consistent with a tight aggressive player. So we're going to know to be careful when we play this guy. Not to bluff him and things like that. Now my King Jack just misses everything. Gonna have to check fold. And here's an example of now calling a raise with the Queen 4. I've got the flush draw, and I'm basically just going to play it sensibly. Now here it's gone 30-110, and I'm going to be out of position, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to fold it. And here I hit my straight, and the guy bets $1, and I've got the nuts at the moment. I think, yeah, I've got the nuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to raise it, because I'm pretty sure that he's got a hand. He might fold to this raise here, but when he bets that turn card, I'm assuming he's actually going to call a raise there. Hopefully he's not sitting here with you know, the kind of hand I'm putting him on the turn is 2 pair, something like 9s and 7s, 6s and 7s, and that river's really bad for us actually. And he checks the river, and what we're going to do is we're going to value bet it, hoping that he's got, you know, oh crap. Unfortunately, it looks like he's trapped us, and yeah, he got extremely lucky on the river, and he takes our stack, which, you know, it happens. It's poker. I think when he checks on the river, I probably should check behind there. But the average player there is going to be calling with any kind of queen, any kind of queen 6. You know, they're going to call. Oh, actually thinking back now, I kind of think it's a bit of a bad move there. I guess I should have just checked the river, because when the turn comes, I'm putting him on 2 pair, and that's my read. My read there was when he calls that raise, he's minimum got 2 pair, which was, you know, which was right. He had better than 2 pair. And then when the river comes and he checks, it's kind of like he calls a raise, and then that river comes and he decides to check, which is a little confusing, because when he bets so strong on the turn and then calls a raise, I'm putting him on a 2 pair that hit a 7. So on that river, I think it was better for me to check, and I probably lost the maximum amount of money there, unfortunately. If you guys think it was a bad call, let me know. Let me know what you would have done there. It'd be nice to know. But like I said, I'm not a perfect player. I do make mistakes. That's annoyed me. Ah, dear. Now one of the things about me is I don't really tilt. That's one of the reasons you need to be specific. You need to be bankrolled for the level you're playing at. I would say having only risking 5% of your bankroll per table maximum. And the reason for that is I just lost a big pot there. There's a pretty large pot. How much was it? Let's have a look. So we lost $8 there, which was a relatively big pot for us. And by being sufficiently bankrolled, you know, I can kind of just brush it off. Like, I'm a bit like, oh, you know, he hits a full house on the river, which I'm a bit annoyed about. But now it's not going to affect my play, purely because I can afford to lose that. Oh dear me. So now, unfortunately, I am down $7 for the day, which is a shame. And we're going to go ahead and fold the King 4 there. We limp in with the Queen 7. We got pretty good pot odds here. So we just limp in, hoping to flop something big. And we don't. So we're just going to probably fold here to any kind of bet. This is one of the things about poker. I'll quickly show you over here. Unfortunately, that really hurt my winnings this month, but if you have a look here, I'm consistently winning, and I win most days, which is pretty good. But you do get your swings. Like I didn't record it, but I'll show you just here. You can see that I was up nearly $40, just shy of 2,000 hands, and after less than 200, I'm back down to being minus in profit, which means I've lost over $40. And it took me, if you can have a look, all this time and a lot of variance to get to that point. So poker's very, the variance is relatively high. In cash games, especially at micro stakes, because people are going to be calling you with a lot of hands, and there are more showdowns and more chances for people to suck out when it is a showdown. But if you have a look at my graph here, if it loads, come on, you can see the blue line is when the hand goes to the river. I'm a consistently winning player. Whereas obviously when the hand doesn't go to the river, I'm a losing player. But this just means here that, most of the time when it goes to the river, I'm winning. And that kind of stat helps me to know that that I'm making the right decision a lot of the time when it comes to putting all my money in. Now here I pick up queens, and we get a raise and a call, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to repop it quite substantially here. Let people know we have a decent hand, purely because we're in the small blind. And we don't want to be playing queens out of position, unless we absolutely have to. And then in the bottom right we pick up aces, which is nice, and hopefully we'll get a call. Unfortunately no one calls there. Yeah, it happens a lot. If you raise from early position like that, people are going to take a bit of notice about it. I mean, they're still going to call with a lot of hands, but people are just going to notice you're raising from that position. And unfortunately, we don't get any calls with the aces, but, it's okay. So we pick up king 10, and we call this guy's raise here. And nothing really good on the flop, so we're just going to fold it. So we call with the jack 10 from the small blind, and the flop's pretty bad, but we're going to go ahead and bet 75% of the pot. And he folds. Now the reason I decided to bet there was he raises on the button, which means his hand range is immediately really wide. I had a gut shot there, and I could have hit the jack or 10 for a pair, so I figure if I make, kind of a semi-bluff of this pot and take it down, it's good for my image, makes me look more aggressive. Yeah, and if you bet into the pre-flop aggressor, they usually get a bit worried. I mean, if someone raises you pre-flop, surely if I raise someone pre-flop and then on the flop they bet into me and say an ace comes off, I'm thinking to myself, what has this guy got? So it confuses the players. And now here, I hit my straight on the river, getting a bit lucky, and I'm going to bet 75% of the pot and hope for a call. And there we go. So we win a nice little pot there. Jack 10, I'm going to call that. File the queen 9. Alright, I'm about to run out of my 15 minutes, which is the maximum for a video. So I'll let you know how part 3 goes in a minute.